My name is Samantha. I'm 20 years old, and I work at a Walmart near a small town called Jackson in Alabama. Since I wasn't going to school full-time, my manager frequently scheduled me for overnight shifts back when the store stayed open 24 hours. Being a supercenter, there were still several employees working during my shift. This particular night ran from 10 in the evening until 7 in the morning. I was one of only a few employees handling stock work, with just 1 or 2 cashiers up front. Since our store sits in rural Alabama, we rarely got customers during these crazy late hours. However, it was perfect for restocking merchandise. I didn't really know the other workers on duty that night, but it's not like we'd bump into each other much in such a massive store anyway. I began my evening folding pants in the men's section and generally cleaning up. I kept my headphones in during night shifts, since there usually wasn't anyone around to tell me to remove them. A customer approached the jeans area around 11:30, which wasn't particularly strange. People would still come in and shop until around midnight. The customer walked up to me and asked if we had the specific pants he'd found in a different waist size. I apologized and explained that whatever was on the rack was all we had. He thanked me and walked away. I accidentally made eye contact with him as he stood by the rack putting the jeans back. It felt kind of awkward. He left and I continued working. Some time passed, and the store began looking like a ghost town. Not a soul in sight as far as I could see. Around 1 in the morning, I'd moved over to the electronics section. I was doing lots of back and forth work with boxes from the storage area, where we kept items waiting to be put out. I brought a cart full of boxes to one of the aisles and started filling the shelves. Since the shelves were empty, I could see through to the next aisle over. Someone was standing there watching me. Well, only until he noticed me noticing him. Then he looked away, but his eyes looked really familiar. I stepped closer to get a better view and realized it was the same customer from about 2 hours earlier. How could he possibly still be in the store without making it obvious? I took my cart with me and walked past the next aisle just to see if the man had any items in his hands. His hands were completely empty. No way could someone shop for 2 hours without picking up a single thing. Something was definitely wrong. I quickly finished restocking the shelf with coffee makers and other appliances, then brought the empty cart to the back area. I hung out there for a while because honestly, I felt like that guy might have been following or watching me longer than I'd realized. I played on my phone for a bit in the employee break room. When I figured it was time to get back to work, I decided to do grocery tasks instead, just to be in a different part of the store. I went into the dairy cooler and filled several crates with dairy products like milk and yogurt. This took a long time because I had to check expiration dates on everything. Over the loud sound of the giant refrigerators keeping the cooler cold, I heard the door to the dairy cooler burst open. There was a convenient gap in the boxes sitting on one of the pallets that let me peek through to the cooler door. I swear it was that same customer. I ran to hide under one of the shelves and pushed a big box full of eggs in front of me. I didn't have to worry about making noise because the refrigerators were so loud. For anyone wondering why I decided to hide, well, I already suspected this guy was hanging around the store watching me. Seeing him in the employees only section, let alone coming into the dairy cooler, meant something bad was definitely about to happen. I hid behind that box with my head down for what felt like forever, expecting to hear the cooler doors open and close. Eventually, after hiding and not looking for a while, I assumed maybe he'd left after searching for me. I lifted my head from my arms for the first time and looked up past the box. I screamed. He was right there smiling at me and standing over the box, but his smile disappeared as soon as I started screaming. He tried putting his hand over my mouth to muffle my screams, but I didn't let that happen. I pushed the box of eggs right into him, and the eggs crashing to the floor made him step back. Looking down at his shoe, I ran right past him, but he didn't try to grab me. I continued running until I found another stock worker and told him to help me. The employee's name was Bob. I remember from his name tag. Suddenly, the man from the dairy cooler approached both of us and apologized. He explained that he was from corporate and had come to make sure everything was running smoothly. He said he hadn't meant to scare me and was simply checking up on me in the dairy cooler to ensure I wasn't slacking off. This Bob guy seemed to believe the whole story. But then again, he didn't seem very bright at all. I asked the man why he'd put his hand on my mouth, and he said he was trying to avoid making a scene. Then shockingly, he gave me orders to finish up the electronics section and disappear. As he was speed walking away down the aisle, I called out asking his name. He called back Tom, and just like that, he was gone. The next day, I called one of the managers and asked if there was supposed to be a corporate visit the night before, and if a creepy man named Tom sounded familiar. My manager Margaret said it sounded like complete nonsense. There was no record of anyone from corporate named Tom who was supposed to visit, and no one from corporate would ever be in the store at 2 in the morning. They went ahead and checked the security footage, and a police report was filed. When they realized this was just some random man, the cameras proved this guy had been stalking me between the aisles for most of the first few hours of my shift. I told Margaret I couldn't do night shifts anymore after that, and she understood. I still work there, but more as a day stock person or cashier. What's one place you can go and find the weirdest, most disturbing people in our society? I swear I've never been to a single Walmart where I didn't see at least one eye-catching strange person. Strange doesn't even begin to describe what I'm about to tell you. It was the Thursday before Black Friday. My Walmart was staying open extra late. I was there around 11 o'clock looking for a new laptop. By chance I picked up the last one from the shelf that was being promoted for a really good Black Friday deal. As I grabbed it though, some big disgusting dirty looking guy came up to me and insisted he needed a laptop very badly. I nervously said I was sorry, but it was the last one. Then he got angry and started making a scene. The man clearly wasn't normal, and my heart started racing. I don't usually get put on edge in these kinds of situations. As others watched the commotion this big guy was creating, I walked away quickly with the laptop box and went straight to a checkout line. He kept yelling at me as I walked away. It was unbelievable. Some other customers in line even tried to laugh with me and make me feel better, saying the guy was clearly nuts. So I got home and my family was already asleep. I went outside to sit in the yard by the pool and set up my new laptop. Then the motion sensor light on the side of the house turned on. I went to check the side of the house to make sure no one was there. Would that thing go off sometimes? Yeah. But there's a small patch of woods right next to the house, so animals would often run onto the property and trigger it. Either way, I'm kind of paranoid, so I went inside, locked the door, and finished setting up my laptop in the living room. Suddenly, a car alarm started going off outside. I recognized it as my Cadillac. I looked out the window to confirm this, then ran upstairs to get my key. I tried pressing the panic button to turn off the alarm, but it didn't work from inside, so I stepped out onto the porch and clicked it off. But then I noticed a car parked in front of our house that wasn't there earlier when I got home. Any cars parked on the street in our neighborhood was suspicious enough. We live in a gated community and everyone has huge driveways. I stepped down from the front steps and realized there was someone sitting in that car. I went back inside and locked the door. I went to my mom's room and told her I thought someone outside meant us harm. My mom and dad have a complicated situation, so my dad doesn't always stay with us. It would have been different having my dad there to tell about this. My mom came downstairs with me, noticeably worried based on what I'd told her. She looked through the peephole in the front door, then gasped and covered her mouth with her hand. I looked through it as well and felt ready to throw up when I saw a huge man standing on the other side of the door on our front steps. I whispered to my mom that I thought that man had followed me from Walmart. Suddenly, the doorknob started to turn as the man tried opening the door. When it didn't work, he started pounding on it. That's when my mom let out a gasp and cry, and my younger sister came out from her room. She also started to panic when she understood what was happening. The pounding stopped. Then there was silence for a while except for my mom's voice on the phone with the police. A few minutes went by with my mom still on the line with 911. Police on their way. Then there was a loud bang and crash downstairs in the den. A window had been shattered. My mom and sister both screamed and cried. I told them to run upstairs while I locked the door to the den. I waited down there expecting an attempt at the door, or another bang. Nothing. Surprisingly, I heard a police car briefly sound its siren outside my house. It was the quickest response time I'd ever experienced. I ran outside to lead them to the den where the broken glass was. There they found the huge, dirty, crazy-looking man hiding behind one of our couches.
He was arrested immediately, and we pressed charge. The whole while he was screaming profanities and threats at me, which didn't help his case. Both officers told me the guy seemed unstable and was probably on some kind of drugs. They told us to get a good night's rest, because he wouldn't be bothering us again. So while it may be entertaining to people watch at Walmart and laugh at some of the goofy things you see, realize you might also encounter some of the more dangerous people in our society at your local Walmart. Working the night shift at Walmart as a night stock person on weekends was my second job while finishing college. I needed to pay off my student loans, so I had to make money however possible. I didn't deal with customers or anything. I would just sign for night deliveries, do warehouse work, and stock shelves in the store during after hours. The typical shift was usually either 11 to 7 or 12 to 7. On July 9, 2015, a Thursday night I still have burned into my memory. I was halfway through my shift in the electronics section when I saw someone walk past the aisle I was working in out of the corner of my eye. This wouldn't normally catch my attention, except there were only two other workers in the building with me that night, Alvin and Bacco. They were both wearing the same staff shirts I was wearing, which I knew because we'd all clocked in at the same time. The person I glimpsed was wearing all black, so I naturally walked to the end of the aisle and peeked around the shelf. No one was there. I called out both Alvin and Bacco's names. When they didn't answer, it made things even stranger, but regardless, I went back to work. I'd been holding in a pee for a while and told myself I'd go when I finished work in that aisle. Seconds later there was a huge crash, a few aisles down. It actually startled me. I ran over to see what it was. A bicycle had somehow been knocked off its hook. The hook was still fine and in place. It seemed like someone would have had to put real effort into knocking this down. I hung it back up and started walking around the aisles, suspicious as hell. I got to the last aisle toward the back of the store, which was the paper and cleaning aisle. Then there was this disturbing sound that I could best describe as a laugh. It sounded like it came from literally the next aisle over. So once again I did a quick run back to that aisle and felt my heart drop when I saw a man dressed in all black standing by the end of the aisle with his back facing me, but his head was turned so that I could only see half his face. Then he suddenly ran, not toward me but down some other aisle. I heard his footsteps running around. I was faced with a choice of chasing after him or going to find my two co-workers. I chose the latter. The whole while I heard these disturbing laughing sounds and footsteps that honestly felt like they were circling me. I found Alvin in the women's section and told him to be on the lookout for someone who wasn't supposed to be in the building, dressed in all black. We didn't have walkie-talkies, so I asked him to tell Bacco if he ran into him. I excused myself because I couldn't hold it any longer. I had to go to the bathroom. I ran to the employees-only bathroom in the warehouse section. I put a layer of toilet paper on the seat in one of the stalls and sat down. Yes, I'm the kind of person who sits when I pee. The door to the bathroom opened and closed. Naturally, with 3 to 4 people in the building, I called out asking who was there. With no answer I assumed the worst. I heard that horrific laughing again, and someone stepped into view through the crack in the door, looking right at me. They stepped closer until the crack was completely covered, and all I could see of their face was one eye. Then the whispering began, unintelligible whispering, but the echo from the bathroom just made it more unsettling. I suddenly remembered I had Alvin's phone number saved on my phone, so I got it out and called him immediately. I was very loud with what I was saying, telling Alvin to get to the bathroom right away and help me. I stayed on the line with him and watched as the man on the other side of the store left once more, then ran out of the bathroom. I told Alvin to hurry, and 20 to 30 seconds later he entered the bathroom. He said he didn't see anyone on his way there. We didn't have any security guards working when the store was closed, so we couldn't even check the camera. I stayed by Alvin the rest of the night, helping in whatever sections he was working in. Safety in numbers, you know. I texted my boss that night, and when I woke up at 3 in the afternoon the next day, I read his response. He said all the camera screens had returned static footage from the night before. Nobody had gone and turned them off as far as he knew. I got chills reading his text. He believed my story and assumed it was related to the cameras, but with no video proof of the breaking and entering or trespassing, I don't think there was anything he could do. It was all above my pay grade though. That was the only night shift I've ever had where something truly unexplainable happened.